Hello, everybody. This is another episode for me and my AI series, and today I have Marissa Brassfield
Well, hello there. I'm so excited to be with you live.
live. It's so unreal, actually. I knew Marissa for almost 1 year now, and she's been one of the early adapters of AI before even AI was a thing, right? This was like even before ChatGPT times.
Way in the before times.
The before times, yeah. And we did create her model, and we did you know, gave her access, and she was using it mostly for content generation. But boy, her memory stack is almost 12 to 13 months old, and now the models are kicking in like with real use. So let's introduce Marissa Brassfield. Marissa, to begin with, just tell about yourself. Like, who are you? Your background? What are you passionate about? I think that'll be great.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Marissa Brassfield, founder of Ridiculously Efficient. And for the last 15 years or so, I have orbited around visionary entrepreneurs like Peter Diamandis, with whom I co-created Abundance 360 back in 2012, 2013, saw that through to its acquisition by Singularity University. And so in that time, it was like a masterclass in exponential growth and exponential technologies. And so AI is something I've been tracking since about 2012. And at the same time, parallel entrepreneur and all, I've been coaching entrepreneurs on productivity, time management, nervous system regulation, and really just doing your best work while also living your best life. So that is my journey thus far. And I'm so excited for what's coming up next.
Yeah, so one of my favorite moments with Marissa AI specifically, was there was a moment where I was really stressed, and I don't know why. Maybe I was working with your AI or working on something else, and then you were testing autopilot. So I actually went in and had a conversation with you, and I felt good.
Oh,
So
that is the intent, is that every interaction with my AI is just as positive and uplifting as it would be with me in person.
It just like you, your AI is just like you. So tell us a little bit about, fast forward 1 year later, building your memory, building your model, and obviously there has been tons of upgrades to the system. Like, what is the purpose of your personal AI? Like, how do you, intend to use it today? What is happening, on an everyday basis? I think it'll be helpful to kind of just understand the purpose of your personal
Yeah, so I am a really prolific content creator, as you know. Part of my training process involved 11 years of newsletters that were sent out weekly, all kinds of courses that I created.
I'm a subscriber.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much. Workshops and speaking engagements, and just hours and hours and hours of content, pages and pages. I mean, that Google Drive folder that we used in the early days was just so packed with stuff. And really, the intent was, I saw pretty early on that we would have a large power grab when it comes to AI, and there would be the big players. And I saw my work become part of those data sets. Some of my client work.
You saw the future.
Saw the future, and I was like, I don't want to sound like anyone else. I want to sound like me. And then, I would have these conversations with my AI too.
Sure.
And I do the same thing. And I'm like, okay, what would I tell myself? I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling burned out, overworked, whatever, all this stuff that I knew was going to be in my data corpus. And time and time again, I would hit on a quote. And I remember it started getting really good for me a few months ago. And I was like, that was really good. I said that. Where did that come from? And then trace the source back. And, and so that was to me the moment of to be able to walk back into a different consciousness, a different state of mind that I was in, different things, because my whole creative and content process is I go through a really intense experience, I process it, I break it down step by step, I make it easier, I reverse engineer it in ways that are more peaceful in the future. And so there's a lot of good problem solving for entrepreneurs and creative leaders. And it's partly why I've become a go-to person, but am overwhelmed constantly with requests for my time and wisdom, and I want to be responsive and thoughtful about that for everybody. And so what I'm excited about is to say, you know, if you talk to me today and ask for advice, like I might be multitasking, I'm with my kid, I'm doing these other things, but actually a much better resource for you to consult is my personal AI, because it's been trained on everything I've ever done and created, and it knows things that I have forgotten about.
So that's awesome. Looks like you have two specific users. One is in your synthesis process, you are having conversation with your own AI that goes into this brainstorming and breaking it down. And then there is a second use case where you are essentially sharing your AI for your own clients, like myself. I would consider myself as a client to your AI for these conversations that otherwise, are dependent on you.
Yeah, because the big level up that I've experienced since partnering with AI is you don't have to wait for someone to be available or for it to be a good time or to get on someone's calendar or to have their mind share focused on something when you know it's something they can answer. So the fact that there's just, for me, creating and thinking through things, I have a place to put my ideas that is not with my team.
Sure.
I'm not overwhelming them. I'm having a place where I can put my thoughts together, but also they have a place where they can come and talk to me. I love your use cases for your AI. They've been very inspirational for me. But also, it just I see the gains that happen from an efficiency perspective, but also from an effectiveness perspective, because we don't have to wait for uptime for someone to respond.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about my use case, and not to plug in here, but it's pretty amazing for me to just look at the community kind of contributing some of my own brainstorming that I do in my autopilot launch. So I do have like a autopilot launch that I set up. It's technically like anybody who would want to come in and brainstorm with that. But I also use that space for myself. And it's fun because then I'm collaborating with customers and clients and communities as well in the same space, which is pretty awesome.
And it's interesting because a lot of founders who are in this visionary space, they have to pay for people to be around them who can have that educated brainstorming conversation, and it's a tremendous amount of overhead. And then you get surrounded by this almost yes man quality, and when the way that your lounge is used especially is very inspiring, because it's like, oh no, this is where customer interaction happens. It's where team interaction happens. You can start to see how the CEO, especially, your time is the most scarce, and it's just been made abundant. And what that does for everything in an organization is amazing.
It's pretty cool. It's really cool. So let's talk about your training process. Now, this may be an interesting, different situation than people who may be listening to this campaign and then coming in over, because there are a lot more tools. And I do know we went through our process as well. But knowing what you know about personal AI, if you were to advise or if you were to redo again, what was your training process like, and what advices or suggestions you would have for people listening in?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest challenge was finding all of the data and hunting in all the places. So first, have a nice, clean environment, go through your stuff. What are the ideas worth saving and reusing?
Yeah.
What are there were so many documents in my cluttered drive that was totally me going like, why did I save this? What is important about this? But then really having that initial process where what ideas are worth resharing, worth training, what do I want to share, where is all that information, and just having that organizing system set up from the get-go. Because now that I have my personal AI, I just go there and I load it straight in. But in the old days, you have to find it.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. Do you still use the Google Drive integration that we set up? Not anymore.
No, because the plus sign to add the otter transcripts, that made it so easy. And then the fact that I can just add it right in a chat, that completely, it's just like, okay, I can just go here.
Yeah. interesting you say that, because my use of taking the Google Drive URLs and pushing it in probably has been past me now, because now I have like an ongoing method to just simply send a message and add it to the memory. But maybe like initial bootstrapping is where the Google Drive actually helps.
That was essential, because in my case, it was like,
It's
let
like
me put in all these videos,
Right.
all these PDFs, all these docs.
and then it's ongoing.
Yeah, and I really wanted to get the blocks up so that I could
Sure.
start training it, especially in those early days, you know.
Sure. Cool, awesome. So let's see. I want to dig in a little bit more into your near immediate vision for your personal AI, right? We discussed like a couple of use cases. Where do you see next 1 year your journey with your personal AI? And then the follow-on question would be, where would you see 5 years from now? But we can start with 1 year and then start.
Okay, cool. Well, you know, the big thing that I'm seeing with AI, but it's technology altogether, is the choice and the agency with how we engage with technology. And I'm choosing to focus my time on effort on content creation, on being with people live, and like my next ideas. So this is community spaces, it's places where my perspective is getting sharpened, and then doing more content creation. So for me, what I'm seeing with personal AI, especially in the upcoming year, is the ability to really choose where I show up live and where my AI shows up for me. So one of the big reasons I wanted to drive down here is I wanted to capture some screenshots of your Zaps and how your Zapier is set up, because to me, an autopilot mode for my social media would be enormously supportive. We already have an integration in our community space for creative intelligence, my AI community, and that's where folks are already, you know, engaging and asking questions, and it's so fun because like I'm starting to see what, and I know some of them personally, so I'm seeing how they're interacting with my personal AI space versus me in DM. So anyway, figuring out how to automate a lot of my messaging and outbound, and some of the stuff that gets recycled. A lot of social media is kind of samey anyway, so a lot of repetition involved. And then 5 years out, I think it would be so much fun to have a mastermind where my AI with voice and I with voice are co-leading and giving an experience together, much like if you and I were to host an event now and come together, and you know, what would AI me say about something, and then what will I make up as a response to that hasn't perhaps been written down yet.
Well, I think you should be able to do that in the near future very soon. I think you know, for the record, we are also integrating voice. You can give your own voice to your own AI. So I can't wait for that, for sure. That's actually a pretty interesting vision.
I think so too. I mean, we're in a place now where AI is taking over a lot of our communication, and out in the public, out in private. And one of my hypotheses is that the value of live spaces and live events, live gatherings, that will increase. So I'm really focusing a lot of my long-term business strategy around that, and just really curating the groups I'm part of and the communities I'm part of, and also the integrity of those live events and spaces. And at the same time, I see, you know, doing events for so long, there's inevitably, you get into your own talk track, and you get into your own, what you're thinking about right then, but there are still so many brilliant things that just because they're not top of mind for me, doesn't mean they're not important or relevant or helpful to someone else. So to have that kind of back and forth, because that is the experience that I have when I interact with my AI. I'm like, that was really good. Wow, that AI should be a writer. But then having that ability to, you know, and then it's an interesting thought experiment too, to interact with different eras of yourself in the present and see. It
happens to me quite a bit.
I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, recently I kind of changed the messaging into uniquely positioning personal AI as, like, you know, extension of yourself, and helping in this like day-to-day digital communication, whether it be messages or emails, tweets, or anything else. And now when I do talk to my personal AI on different activities, the recency of like how I talk about personal AI kind of remixes into it. It's almost like, fascinating. It's like, oh, yeah, I do remember that. So one final thing that I would want to dig in with you is generally around uh, AI. So you are the master of AI and you've been in the industry for a while. You've been following AI for a long time. And you have tried many different tools like ChatGPT, personal AI, Bard. I'm assuming you have like tried many other tools that I haven't even tried as well. But I do get your newsletters and I do learn, and without trying, I kind of take away some of the things that's happening out there in the world. So from your perspective, what makes personal AI different than the whole spectrum of AI that exists out there, and why personal AI should be a choice for people?
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. So the great thing about ChatGPT and Bard and all of that is we got to talk about large language models as a group. As a society, we started to learn about what happens when we create these predictive models, and where does the data come from, how is it used, and a lot of people have gotten a crash course into copyright and some of these other data sovereignty, some of these other really important topics that haven't really been as sexy to share out loud and in public. But behind the scenes, and this was in the early days when we had our first conversations, I wanted to know about the values. I wanted to know about the mission, the integrity of the company, and everything that you said then and still say now, it still so aligns with my own values. And I want us to have agency and authority about where we show up and know where our data is going, know where it's not going, and how it's being monetized or not monetized. Like, I just want to know so that I can make informed choices as a consumer. So from a value standpoint, I really respect how personal AI has always shown up in that area. The fact that the product is token ready, makes me think about the blockchain and an inevitable place where we'll need to prove, hey, my AI said that and it's okay. I endorse that, versus I did not say that, my AI did not say that. That is a false image of me, a false likeness, and I do not approve this message. I think about that in terms of our upcoming political cycle, and every election after that.
Yeah, that's very important. One of the other people associated the agency and the authority as identities, because right now I don't have an identity that is represented or misrepresented by, quote unquote, a combined or aggregated model. And that's the reason why personal AI was important to them. So it kind of relates to some of those core principles for you as well, looks like.
And it's like, I want to have a way to use AI that feels good, even if I decide, and right now I'm using OpenAI and I'm using Anthropic and Google, and I'm, it's fine for now, but I want to also be training and working on an alternative that is completely outside of the big players.
Yeah.
Because to me, my best and biggest thoughts haven't happened yet, and I don't want them out about in somebody's public data corpus again. Like, that can't happen again.
Awesome. Any closing thoughts? Any advice to people?
Yeah. I keep thinking back to the 2018 Abundance 360 Summit, and we had this big list of all the SU faculty put together their predictions for the next few years. And Brian Johnson had one, and this was back in 2018, but he said by 2024, partnering with AI or working with AI will become a professional requirement. And I remember that was the one prediction that not one faculty member said anything about. They were like, oh, well, on all the other ones, they go, oh, well, this one, I think this one's too early. That one's too late. That one they just left there. And I feel like we are at a place right now. Now is the time. If you haven't gotten involved, if you're sitting on the fence, if you're unsure about the data stuff, you don't know how you want to play, you don't know where your ethical standards are, still get into it, still start playing around, start here, especially if you're wary about this stuff, but don't just let it go. Because if we're, especially non-technical people, if we're sitting on the sidelines, then, you know, who knows what rules get made, who knows what gets socialized, and how our work environment changes as a result.
Cool, that's a great advice. Thanks a lot. That's
Thank
Marissa.
you. Thank you.
So awesome.